Pat and Aaron Show Injury Report presented by Florida Orthopaedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. And once again, we welcome back to the show our good friend, Dr. 𝗙𝗍 Kumar. Dr. Kumar, we got a lot of injuries to get to. Final week of the regular season.
How are you guys this morning?
I'm sad. We get a little depressed towards the end of the season. I mean, it felt like it just started, Dr. Kumar, and now it's gone. But we do have a big week ahead. Final week of the regular season, and if the Bucs win, they're in the playoffs. And Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, dealing with the rib injury. X-rays were negative. Pat and I both assume because he's a tough kid and X-rays were negative, he should be good to go on Sunday. But could we be wrong here? What are we dealing with these rib injuries?
Yeah, if any of your listeners have ever broken a rib, they can tell you it's extremely painful and everything hurts, right? You can't take a deep breath. You can't cough. You can't sneeze without it affecting you, let alone throwing the football and getting hit by 235-pound guys. I mean, hopefully he's good to go. Hopefully he can get his pain level down and everything. I think it affected his non-throwing shoulder, which is a good non-throwing side, which is a good side. But, we'll see. And then always the question is, does he just get hit in the wrong way during the game and re-aggravate it? So it'll definitely be something to watch during the game.
Is something, Dr. Kumar, we were speaking about earlier, and I was very excited to be able to have you on to talk about, because we don't know what the hell we're talking about in this situation, right? Like, when it comes to those rib injuries, we've heard sometimes that, obviously breaking a rib is going to be extremely painful, but sometimes if there's cartilage damage or something that may not show up on imaging, it can be still as or almost as painful, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you crack through the cartilage, with the rib, just because you can't see on X-ray does not mean it's less of an injury by any means. It can be just as bad as if you see the actual, the bone of the rib is broken.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it's one of those things. Quarterbacks, we do see it every once in a while during the season. It's fortunately, it's just a pain control measure in terms of, obviously no surgery, but that doesn't mean it's not extremely painful.
This is why I'm not a doctor, Dr. Kumar, because I think immediately I go, he didn't break anything. He'll be good to go, but it could be just as painful.
Oh, yeah. And then, like I said, just kind of like the hit he took, all it takes is one hit and just kind of the wrong spot, and, it flares up again. So it'll be definitely touch and go here for the week and on Sunday.
We hear sometimes from people that suffer rib injuries, again, whatever that injury might be, that they feel like they have trouble breathing. What does that signify to you? Is there something that tells you that X, Y, or Z is happening within somebody when they feel like they can't breathe?
Yeah, I mean, so the first thing would be, from, hey, when he got hurt, is some folks, especially in high energy trauma, the rib can actually tear some of the lining of the lung and actually can cause a collapsed lung. Some of your listeners might remember, I believe it was last year or the year before, Tyrod Taylor had a rib injury and eventually developed a collapsed lung and had to miss a good part of the season. So that definitely can happen. But even without that, it's just the pain, because the rib cage protects the lungs. So a lot of that inflammation and irritation, it just makes everything so very painful. And you just really can't immobilize it or really, support it. Sometimes they use special rib padding for players to try to give them a little extra protection, which can help. But like I said, it just takes one hit in the wrong spot, and man, it just hurts.
Moving on, Bradley Chubb wanted to get to his ACL tear, because certainly Baker wanted to be the big conversation here when it comes to the rib injury. But Bradley Chubb tore his ACL. What type of impact will that have on his future? What's that rehab going to look like?
Yeah, well, as we know, ACL tears NFL players unfortunately happens, and it's a long rehab. So obviously he'll be missing the rest of the season, of course, and I'm sure they'll try to really aim for the beginning of next season or the early part of next season. The tough thing for Chubb is I believe this is his second or third ACL injury. And, of course, every time you have a new one, I'm a Bills fan, so Von Miller, kind of a similar situation of multiple ACL injuries and surgery. And while every player is different, you can tell Von is bad, but he's not really Von Miller. And so it just takes longer to kind of get your legs underneath you. And so, even though they'll plan for the beginning part of next season, when will he be Bradley Chubb again? It might take a lot longer than that.
We hear that the ACL isn't as impactful for the rest of us walking around day to day, as it is for an athlete, for instance, when you're trying to do the explosive things that they are on a football field. Does it happen to where people have torn ACLs in day-to-day life and just kind of don't realize that that's the injury they're suffering from? How common is an ACL tear with somebody who's just an average person and not a professional athlete? And does that happen to where sometimes people don't realize that that's the injury or the extent of the injury?
I feel like I've torn 3 just during this conversation.
Well, you might have. It depends. You're pretty low demand, so I don't know. No, I mean, people come in knowing they have something happened with their knee, because when you tear it, most people know something happens, right? Like, it's very painful, it's swollen, you can't walk on it for a couple weeks. So that part people know. But not everybody needs surgery. You're right. It depends a little bit on what people are trying to get in terms of their day-to-day life and workouts and athletic life and what they're trying to get back to. And there definitely are patients who, not necessarily trying to get back to a specific sport or specific, CrossFit or Orange Theory, who are able to successfully rehab through a full ACL tear and feel like their knee is kind of back to normal.
As a Bills fan, the 2-part question, do you trust Josh Allen? And as a doctor, do you get very concerned when he puts his body on the line throughout the game, just recklessly?
I'll answer your second question first. I get very nervous every time he's on the football field because, he doesn't know when to quit, which as a fan makes me happy because sometimes he makes some incredible plays. But, yeah, it always makes me nervous when he takes these big hits. Now, he's a big guy, but after so many of them, they add up. As your first question, do I trust him? I mean, my heart stops every time he throws the football because I don't know where it's going. But more often than not, it goes where it needs to go. So, I mean, he's one of the best in the league. He does some crazy things at times, but a lot of times those crazy things actually end up good, in the positive for the Bills. So we'll see what happens on Sunday.
As an orthopedic doctor, when you go to home games, do you walk through the parking lot advising people to stop power bombing each other through tables?
No, absolutely not. No, I just bring a business card. And so, we put it in my pocket just for backup. You never know.
I got to say, Pat, well done. That is one of your best questions, no doubt about it. Dr. Kumar, we love having you on. We really do. And we love everything going on over at Florida Orthopaedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital. We talk about access to one of the top orthopedic programs in the nation. We're so lucky to have this in our backyard. So take advantage of it. Schedule your appointment today at floridaortho.com if you're dealing with that nagging injury. Dr. Kumar, I hope you had a great new year. And thank you again for joining us on the injury report. We love talking with you.
Hey, have a good morning, guys, and Happy New Year.
Thanks, Doc. Good luck on Sunday.
All right, thank you.
It's a big one for them.
Game. It's very, very interesting question you asked on the table tossing. Very good.
Well, that's why I imagine if I was an orthopedic doctor, everybody notices things about the field that they're in, right? You're around people that do walls. You'll be in a restaurant, they'll be like, look at the wall over there. You just notice that stuff.